All right, so there's two things. There's empathy and there's system. Empathy is important because it makes us feel good about ourselves. It makes us feel good about what we're doing here for generations to come. We currently have two parties, Republican and Democrat, and I think the Democrats are much better on the empathy part than the Republicans are. But there's also systems. Systems is where we actually uh, make some determinations that are important to achieving some really substantial goals. Both parties, they have honestly good intentions. They just approach it in a very different way. Uh, Currently, right now, one of the biggest problems we have is energy. If I go and listen to everybody's feelings on energy, the biggest boogeyman, the biggest problem seems to be global warming. We have a lot of concerns, and justly so. If you look at our ocean temperatures, they're slowly increasing, and uh, the effect of that increase in temperature has been alarming. There's a lot of things like ice in our, oh my goodness, I get my coffee a little closer to me. So ice has been melting in areas that used to be pretty good about maintaining their permafrost and not melting. And so there's a lot of issues that could be really bad in the upcoming decades because of this increasing temperature. And that increasing temperature has also activated a lot of people with concerns about not only the fact that we use fossil fuels such as coal and oil and natural gas, but we also have uh, fuels that some people deem as very dangerous, such as nuclear fuel. The empathy and the systems really collide on some of the nuclear issues. The empathy is nuclear, which has been used for bombs and other things that have created mass destruction or the potential of mass destruction. They are uh, scary. And I lived through that. You know, where it was decades where we were told that there was a trigger that could be pulled on the U.S. and the Soviets that could re remove life as we know it on this planet. So there's a lot of fear from nuclear, and I justly so. I do not disagree with that at all. The problem we run into is that then there's practical. Excuse me. Practical sense is that the fuel that's creating the most environmental impact for carbon is oil, coal, or I should say coal first, coal and oil, and then there's natural gas. So natural gas is the lowest of those. And I'm not going to argue which what that point, but of all those, nuclear is by far the safest and the cleanest of all those different materials for production of energy. Ready? Ready? You can't catch it real well if you don't go out a little bit. Oh, there, there, there you go. Good girl. So, empathy. Man, that thing is scary. And it scares people we have it. And scares people that we are creating more and more of this nuclear material that can cause uh, illnesses and possible other things, even though the safety records are really high. Systems. We need to cut down on carbon in our atmosphere, but we need electricity. So, nuclear. My wife and I, we invest heavily in uh, things that we think are going to be good for us in the long term. And one of the things we invest in, and I caveat, I'm not an investments professional and have do if you take this investment advice, you're crazy because I am not one of those people. I'm not really smart with investment. But we invest with our heart a little bit because we want electric vehicles and electricity that's cleanly run to help us. So we purchased electric panels for our house in order to reduce the amount of electricity we pull from the grid, which is produced by uh, a union of wind farms, solar, and uh, gas and coal. So we wanted to get as purely electrical from solar as we could. We also bought a battery. We didn't get a big battery, we got a small battery. And the thing that we noticed the most was, wow, how much we spent for a battery and how little we get from it, as opposed to the solar panels, which were very cost effective. So when we talk about systems, being able to store solar and wind is looks to be a very problematic issue. So coal, gas, natural gas can be run 24/7 without issue, can be stored, fired up when needed. Nuclear, when turned on, needs to run continuously, but it's stable. The alternative is what? A lot of people that we see on TV and saying they're experts say, oh, you just solar panels, wind farms, and then just put it all in a battery. We're like, how do you do that? After our experience with our home and the cost of that battery, how do you do that? So we understand the empathy about nuclear, but we don't understand the system. Even these experts, you slap the batteries on there, we don't understand it. My wife and I have ordered an electric car. We won't get it for another 3 months. We ordered it 2 months ago. So it'll be a total of 5 months between the time we ordered it and the time we're going to get it. Why? According to the manufacturer, the number one problem is the battery. We can't get batteries fast enough. So I'm confused in our present discourse about empathy and systems and when we need to override those things. And I think nuclear is one of those things that really does, even though I understand the issues, you need to take a hard look at it and say, you know, it's scary, but we possible problems with nuclear that have not currently shown themselves, except for two issues: Chernobyl, which was an ancient nuclear power plant that was created before computers were even available, and a disaster in Japan that, even if you look at the disaster in Japan, where the tsunami hit one of their nuclear reactors, they still seem to have handled it really well. So compare those with the fact that right now we have what feels like a really mounting global disaster on global warming. And I think we've got to get nuclear as part of that option. And we need to do it now. Unfortunately, the most democratic parties are shutting down nuclear reactors. And that's part of the fact that, like I said, the Democrats are really good at understanding how we feel. And I appreciate that. And I'm glad they do that. And I'm glad they're there to be those people listening to what we're saying and the fear that's coming from us. Or, but there also should be listening to the fact that we have a lot of issues going on. We need to not shut those down until we've rid ourselves of all the other things that are definitely causing us to have a warmer planet. So, just my thoughts for today. It's going to be a hot day, so over 100 degrees in June. It is the end of June, but I would love to make some real efforts in making this planet of ours a little bit cooler. So, anyway, I hope you have a good day and try and have empathy. Empathy is good, and systems are also important to figure out what needs to be done. So, today was an example of maybe where empathy is causing issues with our long-term goal of safety. And tomorrow I'll try and think of something where it's the systems are overriding what's happening with us for empathy. So have a good day and talk to you later.